Yes, Chair.
I don't see any inconsistency between your statement and the minutes of 1 November 2024. But my question is really this. Was there a review by the SAPS Executive Committee as contemplated in paragraph 63 of your decision? Because you are part of that executive committee, not so?
It's correct.
You are. Was there a review by that executive committee which you are a part of?
Not at all.
So we know this did not happen.
This did not.
So what was your expectation as far as the existence of the PKTT was concerned after this meeting? So what is the next thing that you expected after this meeting?
What I expected was that since in the meeting the minister raised about the disbandment or the closure of the inspectorate and the PKT, the disbandment or the closure of the inspectorate and the PKTT, it was now a subject for discussion that at some point is going to happen.
And that did not happen. There was no discussion at some point.
There was no discussion in between because the National Commissioner raised certain concerns in relation to like your inspectorate and say it can be done, however, it's going to cost 1, 2, 3.
So the next thing you saw was the minister's letter?
On the 31st.
Before there was a discussion?
Yes.
And before there was this review by the executive committee?
There's correct. Since the 1st of November to the 31st.
Yes. So then why do you say General Masimula is feigning surprise when he says when he saw the letter he was taken by surprise? If you yourself expected that there were going to be discussions, there was going to be a review, is it not a surprise that a disbandment letter that directs that the PKTT be disbanded immediately comes before this discussion has taken place or before even the executive committee of SAPS has said to undertake the exercise which you say would have been the next step?
I would be surprised if this topic or this subject was never at any given moment discussed. I just saw a letter on the 31st. But if I know that at some point there was this meeting held and my contribution was this, then when that decision comes, and it comes as a surprise, then as the National Commissioner, I will then take it up with the minister, revert back without pushing it further. So I'm saying, to me, he cannot say it came as a surprise because it wasn't the very first time he came to hear about the matter.
Not the review, the disbandment. Remember, the first time he's hearing of the disbandment is when he sees the letter. He might have heard about a suggested review, a suggested impact analysis, but that is different to a disbandment decision. The first time he hears about a disbandment is in the letter because the minutes don't say anything about disbandment. They talk about a review. Murray on the 6th of March 2024 talks about an impact analysis. So the first time the National Commissioner sees the word disbandment is on when he sees the letter of 31 December 2024. And that is the sub.
When the chair starts looking at me like that, I feel threatened now. Because I know what is coming.
Sir, can I say that I would expect, given how you've explained in this discussion with Ms. Hassim, where you and Commissioner Khumalo, where you accept that the executive management was mandated or was going to have a discussion, that did not happen. And the next thing you became aware of is when that letter came. If that is so, on that version, I would expect you to say, I was also surprised because we had a meeting on the 1st where the minister spoke about reconsideration and review, and then we as executive management were tasked or were going to have a discussion about this. We never had that discussion. The next thing that happened is there was this letter. That's what you've said to us. The next thing, there was this letter. I would expect you to say, the letter also caught me by surprise. Unless, of course, you knew that that letter is coming, which was not, and you would have known not through the formal processes and not through the documents that are in front of us. Somehow you would have known it. But you've told us I knew nothing about it. The last time we had this discussion was on the 1st of November. And after that, there was nothing. Executive management didn't discuss it. I expected to say I was surprised.
Quite honestly speaking, Chair, I was not surprised for simple reasons. Remember, there are a trail of emails that were exchanged, even some of them sent from the National Commissioner's Office to the Minister in relation to the political killing team and the suggestion that it be disbanded. However, in the meeting where the Minister raised...
And you would have been copied. And remember, we are talking about the period from the 2nd of November. Let's not go back there. We know you had a meeting on the 1st.
Okay.
It had a particular outcome. So we're looking at from the 2nd of November up to the date that letter came out, what happened, right? So if you say there were a trail of emails, it has to be, because that's a discussion we are having now. We're talking about from the 2nd of November, and my question is, if that's the period you're referring to, when you say there were a trail of emails, my next question would be, where you copied, is that how you come to know about it? From the 2nd of November up to the 31st, where you copied in those emails, can we have copies of them if you were copied? If not, how do you come to know about them? But it's a specific window that we are discussing.
In between the meeting of the 1st of November up to the 31st, I know of no meeting or no consultation. I was never involved in any form of discussion. I also saw that letter as it was circulating now on the media.
You said this decision, meaning 31 December 2024, was informed by an assessment that the task team no longer significantly contributed to policing efforts. What assessment were you referring to here? Because as we know, you've said there was no review or analysis of the task team. So what assessment are you referring to here?
This letter, I think, must be read in conjunction with the Minister's comment on that meeting of the 31st, on the 1st of November, considering the fact that this letter that we are talking about come from the Office of the National Commissioner, as directed by the National Commissioner, to assist me to craft this thing. So this letter. So even though I signed this letter, I think there is a general agreement and understanding that this letter was signed by the Office of the, comes from the Office of the National Commissioner. So commissioners to be really bound on to certain words and say, what were you meaning? What were you referring to on this document that was prepared by the Office of the National Commissioner? And then saying that I can sign it because it's directed to DIFCOM intelligence. I will respond and I will attempt to respond. But to be fair, this letter, from the very onset, it is known that I am not the author of this letter.
So, again, we have a signature by you on a document that's a lengthy document, but you disavow the authorship of this, the ownership of this letter.
It's
Did you comment on that?
It's not a difficult question that you are asking. I'm just worried that we all agree that it comes from the Office of the National Commissioner,
Well-
and that it can be signed by me. And when I read it and I went through the contents, to me, it was a plan on how to go about in disbanding. I signed it.
I'm not. That doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like a full and candid response, General, because what you've said. First of all, let me just say, this letter is not a letter that's prepared like an information note is prepared, and you see who the author is of the note, and then you have a signature that recommends, you endorse it, in other words. A letter that's, a document that's prepared by someone else. It usually then says it's prepared by somebody else. That's the first thing. Right? You agreed this is not that kind of letter. It's not an information note kind of letter where it says it's been prepared by someone else. Right?
It is that kind of a letter that it is prepared by someone, because it was sent to my office from the Office of the National Commissioner.
Well, no. It was a draft that you had prepared together with General Rabi. General Rabi was assisting you. That was what you testified to yesterday, and that's what's in your statement, that General Rabi was tasked to assist you to prepare this, and you explained why it would involve General Rabi because of the nature of the letter, etc., and that's completely acceptable. There's no problem with that. But you have to satisfy yourself that you are happy with the instructions that you are giving, because this instruction doesn't come from General Rabi or from the Office of the National Commissioner. It comes from you. It's not on the National Commissioner's letterhead. It's not on, it doesn't have his signature, only yours.
It goes out, simply put, it goes out as your letter, General.
It's true, Chair.
Signature at the end is yours. You are not recommending to anybody. You are signing a letter that's yours. And even at the top under inquiries is Lieutenant General Sibiya. It's your letter.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Hassan.
Thank you. So can I go back to now the contents of this letter and ask you questions about it, because it's your letter?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question I had was, what was the assessment in paragraph 2? What was the assessment that was done that concluded that the task team no longer significantly contributed to policing efforts?
That is a question that is based on the. Can we go to the letter that itself that was written by the minister, because I think the words originate from that letter itself.
Okay. So you're saying that this is a reference to the minister's assessment?
I think so.
But let me leave it at that with your response, and ask you this: did you consult? You say there were consultations. Did you consult with the head of the PKTT, General Khumalo?
Remember, I'm not the one that was doing the disbandment, because in my case, I was just carrying out the National Commissioner's instruction. So in my case was just to relay the message that I received from the National Commissioner to General Khumalo.
Sure, but I'm not yet there yet. I'm still before 31 December 2024. What consultations were there with the head of the PKTT before the decision was taken? We know there was no impact analysis, but was there consultation with the head of the PKTT? These
meetings, including the 1st of November, those were the consultative process that were taking place. I personally didn't have to consult with General Khumalo because I was not part of it. I was not involved in it.
Okay. Are you aware of any consultations with General Khumalo on the issue of disbandment?
He was part of the meetings.
Was he part of this meeting on the 1st of November?
All the meetings, yes, he was part.
And in those meetings, concerns had been raised?
Yes, and he
So-
even presented in Parliament, and yes.
In November 2024?
No, I say there was consultative and he was in agreement.
He was in agreement
Yes,
with the disbandment?
yes,
General Khumalo?
all of them.
I find that very hard to believe, because General Khumalo has testified at length here as to the shock when he saw the letter, the instruction, on the 31st of December 2024.
When we are to believe that, that is what he was supposed to also demonstrate in Parliament on the 5th of March, to say that I was in shock when that was discussed. But that is not what happened. He said the minister gave a directive to the National Commissioner. There has been several meetings held, and the disbandment will take place in a form of in phases, and then the cases will be taken to murder and robbery unit. The provinces, all the 9 districts have stabilized. Only eThekwini district is still the one. So all I'm saying is that if he was not in agreement, together with the provincial commissioner and the national commissioner, they were in the meeting in Parliament, and they didn't
Okay,
oppose.
but that was after the decision was taken, General. So I just want to stop you, because I'm really only dealing with this small period in 2024. We have on record that the evaluation of the task team, the agreement was that they're doing outstanding work in the middle of 2024. And then somewhere along the way, something changes. And that's the period I'm talking about. And what changed was towards the end of 2024. I'm trying to understand, at that point, were there consultations with General Khumalo, and you're saying there were, and you're saying that he agreed that it should be disbanded. And I'm saying to you that can't be right, because he's testified at length that that's not the case.
But the fact that he testified and said what he said doesn't mean that in the meetings with the minister he did not really participate, nor also raise concerns there or disagreed. Because if there was any such disagreement, it would have been recorded in the meeting, in the minutes themselves, that he was also not in agreement. But there's no such record.
Just to make sure you are not talking past each other, give us the timing. What time are you referring to? What period are you referring to, General?
Chair, I'm referring to all the meetings that were held since this topic was introduced in a meeting by the minister,
Minister Mkhunu.
Mkhunu, in a meeting
Meeting of the 1st of November?
of the 1st of November. So all the management were there, and this topic came to the fore, and it was discussed, responded to positively.
By topic, are you referring to disbandment?
Disbandment, referring to the reconsideration and review of certain capabilities such as political killings and inspectorate.
But my understanding is that Ms. Hassim is asking you about disbandment, General.
I can't hear the
I'm
chair.
saying my understanding is that Ms. Hassim is asking you about disbandment, not the reconsideration and review that we dealt with earlier.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Because we've moved off from review and reconsideration and those things. The question is about disbandment.
Yes. All I can say is that he's never visibly indicated that he doesn't want to comply or he doesn't agree. He hasn't done that.
General, can I just ask, maybe I'm trying to see if we can get to the answer of the question that you're being asked. This meeting is on the 1st of November.
Yes.
The disbandment letter is the 31st of December. What do you say happened after the first of November, because on the 1st of November, the minister says there must be reconsideration and review. He expresses that view. And then we know it's not in the decision. The decision is not made. When you say there were discussions, what meetings or what forum after the 1st of November before the 31st of December were held where a discussion about the disbandment of the PKTT was raised, and where do we find a record of that discussion? Because it is an important topic, so I would imagine that it is recorded somewhere, and it would have been in a formal meeting. So I think you do need to be specific, more specific than saying it was discussed. You need to say there was this meeting and there was that meeting. And this is what was discussed, and this is the decision, and there has to be a minute of that meeting.
All I know, Chair, is that there was that meeting of the 1st of November, and then from there, it was just what was placed on the table. We all didn't expect that there will be a letter written, but on the 31st, the letter came. But in between, I am not in a position to tell what happened.